So Members was released about a week and a half ago, and inflation has been wild. And honestly, I think it's only getting crazier. Like, I sat down a few days ago to write some notes for this video, and in the time since then, I've had to update the numbers multiple times. Prices are moving so fast that I wouldn't be surprised if that by the time you watch this video, everything I say is already out of date. But yeah, inflation is real. And since the release of Members, prices have been spiking across the board. Some of it's been predictable and some of it kind of wild. So I wanted to go over what I've noticed, why I think it's happening, and where this could be heading. So I wanted to start with some of the basics, and that's logs and cowhides, particularly the higher end logs. So U logs have gone from 175 GP to 270 GP. I was farming U logs for a long time in free to play, and I would have been lucky to get 175 GP, but it seems to be fairly easy to get 260, 270 now. So they've really spiked. Magic logs, when pay to play was first released, they started around 850, and again I was basically chopping these, and 850 was good, and now 1050, so it's like a 20% growth, which is pretty good. Cowhides, now these have gone pretty crazy. So they started around 80 GP in free to play. They did increase to around 130 and they then dropped back to about 100, but now they're going for 170. Why is that though? Well, for the logs, people are using them to fletch them into longbows and then alch them. That's a really good source of money. So anyone who's got the levels has been doing that and spamming it as much as possible. And so the value of the raw items themselves, the logs, goes up as more and more people do it. Then with cowhides, people just have more money in Members, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But people are using that money to train crafting, and so they're just willing to spend more money on cowhides. So something else I wanted to talk about was runes, and I think these are a bit more interesting. So let's start with rune essence. So that's doubled from 30 GP to 60 GP. And this has probably surprised a lot of people because many people were saying that the price of essence would crash. And that was because there was a huge stockpiling prior to the release of Members of rune essence in anticipation for nature runes. People were like, okay, we should stock up on essence because the demand's going to go up and because of nature rune running and things like this. But counter to that, people were saying, well, so many people are going to overstock that the price will crash. So there was kind of two schools of thought on this. And I think people will think it was going to crash, but that's just not happened. The demand has kept up with the supply and outstripped it, clearly, because now it's doubled in price. And so it's interesting because you see loads of people mining rune essence. If you go to World 2, Varrock East, like loads of people are doing it, but the supply isn't enough to keep up with the demand. Loads of people are running nature runes. And actually, because of that, nature runes are actually one of the items that haven't really increased in price too much. They've been pretty stable actually, and they've actually dropped to 240 GP, as low as that, 230 recently. But it's still profitable to use the essence to make them, so essence is stable. Now, some of the combat runes have been wild. So mind runes went from 12 to 25 GP, chaos 55 to 110, death runes 70 to 170 GP. And this makes sense because for mind runes, people were using them. They were pretty much the meta for rune crafting alongside air runes in free to play, but people aren't making them anymore because there's just better ways of training rune crafting. People are just doing different things, but there's still a demand from people who are killing monsters. They want the runes, and that's reflected in the price of chaos and death runes. Chaos and death runes in free to play weren't used too much, but now they're being used for killing blue dragons to farm hard clues, among other things. And so the demand's way up, and you can't really craft chaos runes effectively. It's an absolute nightmare. I mean, go try it and you'll know what I'm talking about. But death runes you just can't craft, and the only real supply is shops, which don't restock fast enough, and monsters, which again, they don't drop them fast enough. So the price is more than doubled for both of those. Air runes have done the same. In fact, air runes have almost tripled, more than tripled actually. So from 6 to 20 GP when I last looked. And it's exactly the same reason. People were crafting these like no tomorrow in free to play, but now people are making nature runes or just doing other things. So, but people are using spells that actually use more air runes. So the demand is way up and the supply is just non-existent. So naturally the price goes down. The price goes way up. The other category that I wanted to talk about, kind of similar to runes, is arrows. Steel arrows have gone from 18 to 35 GP. Mithril arrows, which are a member item, they started around 30 GP and they've gone up to as high as 50, 55 GP. And again, this answer is simple. The supply really, it doesn't really make sense at the minute to fletch these. Like steel bar prices are way higher than the money you'd make from the steel arrows. So people aren't doing that, but there's demand for steel bars keeping that high. So realistically, the only supply is, again, from monsters and shops, which don't restock fast enough. I've personally been using steel arrows for hard clue farming. And so I've seen my costs skyrocket for steel arrows, and there just seems no end in sight for these particular items. The other category, one that surprised me actually, is bones. So big bones and dragon bones specifically. Big bones have gone from 100 to 200 GP, and dragon bones, they started around 650 GP at the beginning of the week, and now they've gone as high as 900. I've even seen 1000 GP each in World 2 Varrock for dragon bones, which is wild because you don't really get that much experience. I mean, from a dragon bone you get a lot more than a big bone, but it's still not much. Is it worth spending like as much as 1k each on them? I don't know. Personally, for me, no, but people are doing it. They want that prayer XP. So yeah, more people wanting to train prayer, the price goes up. There's so many more categories I could talk about, and I don't really have time to go into all of them. We'll be here all day, but one interesting category is kind of what I've called high ticket items. So these are things like the Ring of Wealth and Amulet of Glory, for example. So they started the week pretty high, as high as 250, 300k for the first few. They dropped down as low as 180k. So they deflated, and then what we've seen is the price go up again. So they've gone to 220, 230k a piece. And that's simply because they have the money now to spend on it, whereas midway through last week, maybe they didn't. But there's now more demand. And they have the cash, so they're willing to spend more, so the price has gone up a bit. The other high ticket items, I guess you could call them, are things like rune kite shields and other rune items, and they've gone basically way down. Rune kite shields, I want to highlight specifically, they went from 150k to 65k as recently as today. And the real answer to that is clue scrolls. So hard clue scrolls pump out rune items. And the rune kite shield, I've personally done 7 hard clues and I got 2 rune kite shields. And I sold them 60k each, if I'm honest with you, because it was hard to sell them. Rune kite shields were the only way to get them before in free to play was smithing, and barely anyone had the smithing level. So the level was naturally high, but now they're really easy to get. And so the price is down. And the final high ticket item, the one that I guess people desire the most, or the group of items people desire the most, are the clue uniques. These are things like the Robin Hood hat, the Ranger boots, Wizard boots, Cavaliers. All of these items, they are kind of, in some way, they're best in slot, and for others, they're kind of fashionscape items. Initially, I think for the best in slot items, there was a massive spike in price in the first few days for people who had the cash, and it was very few people, but they got their item, they paid a lot, fine. Then, actually, what's really hard about this set of items is there's not much data, but I'm going off buy prices here. And so what you see in the first few days is those spikes, and then they went down. So you're looking at below 1 mil offers for these items, for the Ranger boots, for the Robin. But now you're seeing buy offers for as much as 3, 4. I've seen as high as 5 mil offers for these items. So you can see the demand is now starting to go up as people have more cash, as people are looking to diversify into different kinds of items, or maybe show off their wealth. They're more willing to spend on these big ticket clue uniques. And I think that they're just going to keep skyrocketing in the sort of short to medium term, because there's such a limited supply of them and a growing amount of wealth in the game. Oh, and I need to shout this one out because I nearly forgot to include it in my notes, and that's the gold ore. This one has been nuts. So it was going for as low as around 80 GP in free to play, but it's going for as much as 380. I've even seen people paying 390 GP each for this one. And that's one of the biggest jumps I've seen. That's like a 4-fold increase, almost 5 times increase in the price of gold ore. And what's really happened here is people have access to goldsmith gauntlets, and so they get an increased experience when they're smelting gold ore to gold bars, making it one of the best smithing methods in the game. So naturally the price of gold ore has gone up, but the supply is still absolutely suppressed. There's no real good way to get gold ore other than maybe the crafting guild, but because there's so much demand, they just can't keep up. So the price is going up and up and up and up. There's yeah, there's no solid monster drops for it, and there's really not many people mining it. You might start to see more people mining it, but because there's not many good spots to mine, the demand will just stay way higher than the supply can maintain. So what is causing all of this? To be honest, I think it's all kind of obvious. The prices have been going wild, but it's been a mix of things. So there's a massive new demand for a lot of different items. People are rushing to train skills and get the best in slot items, so they're willing to pay more. And there's a shifting supply, so those lower tier items, people have shifted from getting those into more better, basically, money making methods in members. And more cash is just entering the economy through high alc profits, through better money making methods, clue scrolls, even PVM drops, so Dragon Medhelms coming from the KBD, for example. People just have more money to spend, and naturally they'll be willing to spend that money more if they need to get the items and compete with other people who also have the money. And that's the real kicker. So as more gold enters the system, the prices are going to rise, even for the items that used to be cheap and abundant. So where's this going? Well, eventually I think things will stabilize. The supply will catch up as people start to realize, okay, air runes might be profitable, for example, right now, so more people will go back to those. People will shift to gold ore, people will shift to these different items, more people will farm clues. As things calm down, as less people are doing, I think a lot of people are doing quests right now, so resources aren't entering because of that. So as people shift back to skilling, then you should see prices stabilize, maybe drop a bit for some of them. But for things like the high-end clue items, I do think even if more people are farming clues, the demand will still outstrip supply. And as more gold enters the economy, people will still be willing to pay more for them. So the price of those will keep going up. Either way, it's been super fun to watch this last week and a half. I think it's fair to say the economy's alive in 2004Scape. It's on fire, it's going crazy. And it's been cool to see it evolve over basically in real time. But yeah, let me know if you've seen any other crazy price shifts or figured out any sneaky ways to profit from the chaos. And if you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe if you want to see more videos about the 2004Scape economy, about money-making methods. And yeah, it's been super fun to watch, and I look forward to speaking to you guys about this more in future. So I'll see you guys in the next one.